What's up, everybody? Eric here from Psychic Vacuum, and welcome to my first ever real video. This is going to be a series I'm doing. I was going to call it Underrated Albums, but it's more like overlooked albums. Generally, these are pretty highly rated by people that do know about them, but I just don't hear these albums and bands mentioned enough. So, I'm going to have a few spin-offs of this. I'm a big metalhead, but I'm also into a lot of 70s rock, especially prog and stuff like that. So, the first one I'm going to do actually is this band right here, T2. These guys formed in London in 1970, and they were made up of Keith Cross on guitar, keyboards, backing vocals, Peter Dunton on drums and lead vocals, and Bernard Jinks on bass and backing vocals. These guys were in some other bands in the London area in the late 60s, and yeah, formed this band in 1970, and this is just a killer prog rock album. It's unfortunately the only real album this lineup recorded. This isn't an original. This is just a repress from like 2010, I think, on Decca and Acme black vinyl. But it does come with this cool insert. You got the whole like write-up about the band's history and everything. That's pretty cool. Interesting album cover here too. I'm not totally sure what's going on. I don't even know if I mentioned the title of the album. It's called It'll All Work Out in Boomland. Anyway, yeah, just killer prog rock. These guys mix lots of different elements. There's a big hard rock aspect, almost proto-metal in places. Man, Keith Cross, the guitarist, was only 17 when they recorded this album, and he was a total shredder, man. Just crazy guitar pyrotechnics in places on this. All these guys were great musicians. You only got 4 songs on this album. Starts off with In Circles, 8.5 minutes long. That's got some really cool rhythms in it, and some just crazy guitar shredding. These guys are really good at mixing the hard rock stuff with these really mellow kind of acoustic pastoral sections like you'd get from a lot of prog bands in the 70s. King Crimson comes to mind. There is some Mellotron and stuff on here too. Not super prominent, but just adding some layers of kind of atmosphere in the background. Yeah, they have a lot of different elements though. There's, like I said, folk, there's some jazzy parts, there's quite a bit of like psychedelic rock influence as well, and some just total jam band kind of stuff in places too. Plus, there's actually a lot of like string and brass arrangements on this album too. But yeah, In Circles just has kind of some of all of that stuff in it. JLT is the second song, not quite 6 minutes. It's a more laid-back song, but it's just got really great, beautiful melodies in that one. It's got this cool section towards the end where they just slowly add layer by layer of more kind of orchestral elements to just boost the energy. No More White Horses, man, that's probably my favorite song on this album. Just like super heavy, kind of not quite doomy, but this kind of descending slow power chord riff that just starts off a little mellow but slowly creeps up, and once the whole band kicks in it just explodes and Keith is just shredding his ass off. Then it breaks into like a pretty mellow section and just awesome melodies in the verse and especially the chorus. The chorus is just great on this song. And I love how it's intense and then just suddenly flips the switch back to the acoustic verses. And then on side 2, you get 21-minute epic, Morning, which is based on, I'm pretty sure I read, Peter Dunton, the drummer and lead vocalist, had a bad acid trip, basically. And he wrote the song kind of based on his experience that he had. And that's a really good song as well. It probably, I would say it's my least favorite on the album, but it's still great. I mean, again, it's one of those songs that just shows off all those elements that I mentioned before. It's got heavy parts, it's got soft parts, it got beautiful melodies and just shredding parts, jazzy parts, jamming. I mean, you can't really ask for more. Yeah, just an awesome album. A lot of people who are deep into prog rock, 70s prog, are probably aware of this album, but it still doesn't get mentioned anywhere near as much as the big bands from the era. You know, King Crimson, Jethro Tull, Yes, Genesis, Pink Floyd, all those bands, which are all amazing bands too. But yeah, and a big part of it was that these guys, unfortunately, when this album came out in 1970, Decca really didn't distribute it well enough, and they were playing gigs all over the place, gained a lot of popularity actually, but no one could find the album to buy in the record stores. And they got pretty frustrated by that, and Keith Cross ended up quitting the band. Bernard Jinks quit pretty soon after that as well. And they, Peter Dunton recruited a couple other guys to take up those positions, and they toured for a couple years, but never were able to secure a different record deal. And there are some demos apparently from that lineup of the band as well. They broke up in 1972. But another thing I want to show in this episode, which is actually less known, quite a bit less known than the It'll All Work Out in Boomland album, is this. I'm gonna get rid of the glare there. This has been released a few times. This copy I have is just called T2. It's also been called 1970, and it's also been called Fantasy. It was first put out in the late 90s, I want to say, mid to late 90s. This is from 2010 or so, I want to say as well. And this is basically demos of what was going to be the second album, which never got officially released at the time. And this is another cool booklet in here. It's got a few more photos and stuff, and kind of the write-up of what happened with the band, as well as the lyrics. Cool pictures of the guys there. It's a pretty sweet hat. Anyway, yeah, these and I'm not sure if this was intended to be the original album cover. It looks like it's the same artist as the other album, so maybe that is the original cover. But yeah, these were recorded as demos in 1970, later that year. And man, this is maybe better than the debut, in my opinion. The sound quality isn't so great. You can tell that they're demos from 1970. But once you get used to it, and I mean, I got used to the sound quality halfway through the first song pretty much. I will say, even this album, it's not the greatest recorded album. It doesn't sound amazing. It's not Dark Side of the Moon or Thick as a Brick or whatever. It's a little raw. But this one is definitely more raw. However, the songs on this are just amazing. They kind of amped up the hard rock element almost on here. And there's some really heavy stuff. I mean, the first song is called Highway, That's just a ripper of a song. Crazy riffing and drumming, especially on that one. They're just going off. Careful Sam is another song that kind of has a lot of dynamics to it. It starts off really quiet and subdued, and then again explodes into this big heavy thing. Timothy Monday is a pretty mellow, folky one. CD, I mean, all these songs. CD, The Minstrel, Fantasy is 8 minutes long, and T2 on here is kind of the epic, 14.5 minutes. And yeah, all of these songs again feature the same kind of elements as the first album, but they're, I would say, a little more developed. I think their songcraft is getting better here. And I would say the musicianship is actually a little higher on this album too. It's probably from all the gigging they were doing and stuff. But yeah, both of these albums are awesome and definitely worth checking out if you're into 70s prog or even just 70s rock in general, hard rock. They're both pretty easy to find too. This has been repressed a lot of times. I'm not sure exactly what it's going for on Discogs or wherever right now. I picked it up for, I want to say, $25 Canadian a few years ago. And then this one, I believe you can still get as well. It was, I think there was a vinyl pressing of this as well, which is pretty cool. But yeah, these guys did, honestly, as far as I know, Keith Cross and Peter Dunton, these two, didn't really go on to do much afterwards. I know Keith Cross had kind of a solo album, which I just actually found out about today, which I'm going to check out. And Peter Dunton kind of resurrected the band. He was the band leader, and he got a couple other guys in the early 90s, and they recorded 3 albums in the 90s. I haven't heard any of those yet. I'll check them out someday, but they don't seem to be praised all that much. But yeah, I don't know. If anybody knows what those albums are like, definitely let me know in the comments. And otherwise, yeah, check these out for sure. If you're into 70s prog at all and you haven't heard these, and even if you've heard this one but not this one, this is absolutely worth your time. So, thanks for watching, and I guess like and subscribe and whatever if you enjoyed this. Let me know in the comments if you've heard these, or if you haven't, go listen to them, come back and give me your thoughts. Love to hear that. And yeah, thanks for watching, and see you next time.